The sun rose like it always did, but something felt wrong. Birds moved slower, and the air tasted like metal. You checked your phone and saw nothing unusual. The silence outside was louder than any alarm. People stood in the streets staring at the sky. A strange shimmer pulsed across the clouds. It was not light, and it was not shadow. It was something in between. Then came the broadcast. Every screen lit up with the same message. Earth's core was destabilizing. Radiation levels were rising faster than predicted. The planet had less than 30 days. There was no time to fix it, only time to leave. The Mars Protocol was activated, a plan buried deep in government vaults. Now, it was the only option left. You watched your parents cry without sound. Your siblings held each other like they were already floating. The selection process began instantly. Scientists, engineers, medics, and survival experts. Then came the artists, the historians, and the storytellers. You did not expect your name to be called, but it was. You had 48 hours to report. One bag allowed. No goodbyes permitted. You walked through your city one last time. The trees looked older. The buildings looked tired. Children played like they knew it was their final game. You saw a man kneeling beside a cracked sidewalk. He whispered something to the ground. You did not ask what. Everyone was grieving in their own way. At the launch site, the air smelled like fuel and fear. Massive ships stood like monuments to desperation. You boarded with strangers. No one spoke. No one cried. There was no time for emotion. As the engines roared, you looked back one last time. Earth was shrinking, not just in size, but in memory. And then it was gone. The ship smelled like metal and silence. Everyone sat still, but no one looked alive. A screen showed the map of Mars. Red dust and frozen shadows covered the surface. A robotic voice began giving instructions. Each person received an ID and a role. Your role was memory keeper. You were chosen to preserve Earth stories. You had to remember what others tried to forget. The ship entered orbit with a soft jolt. A strange light filled the cabin. Mars appeared outside like a wounded planet. No trees, no birds, no color. Just rocks and wind without warmth. The landing was smooth, but hearts were heavy. Everyone wore helmets and stepped outside. You touched the soil for the first time. It was cold, but it felt alive. A base camp was built within hours. Temporary shelters were assigned. Your room was small, but had a screen. That screen was your canvas. You typed your first line. Earth gave us birth, but Mars keeps us breathing. Every morning, a siren echoed through the camp. People began their assigned tasks. Some managed oxygen plants. Some tested food formulas in labs. You listened to their stories. You wrote what they remembered. Some cried while speaking. Some stayed silent and let their eyes speak. You built a wall inside your shelter. You painted fragments of Earth on it. An ocean, a mosque, a mother's face. People stopped and stared at the wall. It became Earth's first doorway on Mars. You realized survival needed more than science. It needed memory. And you became the guardian of memory. The sky above Mars was always quiet, but silence on a dead planet is never peace. One morning, the siren did not ring. People stepped out and saw the horizon trembling. A dust storm was forming faster than expected. Red clouds spun like angry ghosts. The base went into lockdown mode. You rushed to seal the memory wall. Dust began leaking through the cracks. Visibility dropped to 0 within minutes. The storm screamed like it had a voice. Shelters shook and lights flickered. You held your screen close and kept writing. Outside, the storm erased every footprint. Inside, people clung to each other like gravity was failing. Someone whispered a prayer. Someone recited a poem from Earth. You realized memory was the only warmth left. After 6 hours, the storm passed. The camp looked like it had aged 100 years. Solar panels were buried. Communication towers bent like wilted flowers. But the wall survived. Your paintings were covered in dust, but still visible. People gathered around it again. Someone cleaned the mother's face with a cloth. Someone added a new image beside the ocean. It was a child holding a kite. You did not ask who drew it. You just knew the wall was growing. Mars was changing, not just its surface, but its soul. And you were part of that change.